Hello, everyone. Boa tarde. So I'm Vanessa. I'm going to be your moderator for this first panel. In the next 30 minutes, we're going to be discussing the climate emergency and the role of Earth system science in tackling those issues and also urging for more ambitious and faster change in policy, society at large, and business as well. Our panelists, they need no introductions, but if you want to learn more about them, you can go to the event page and check their many scientific accomplishments. So I would just invite them to join me. Kamila Markram, CEO and co-founder of Frontiers. Professor Högström, director of the Potsdam Institute for Climate Impact Research. And Professor Carlos Nobre, Earth System Science at the Institute for Advanced Studies of the University of São Paulo. So jumping right into our discussion, let's start with a diagnostics check-up of our planetary health. I would like to ask Professor Högström, as the scientific community has collected already abundant evidence that we are fast headed to the 1.5 overshoot in temperature, I would like to understand a bit more the consequences for the planetary health, and how can science in this context help us, different societies, operate within the planetary limits or boundaries?
Yes, thanks. No, and this is science that really confirms what we've heard so far here of the importance of COP30 in Belém. The latest assessment shows that we have overwhelming evidence that we are within the next years and decades, so really on our watch as citizens and leaders on planet Earth, at risk of not only destabilizing the life support on Earth, but actually to trigger irreversible changes that will be impossible to revert over centuries, if not millennia, into the future. This is now assessed through the planetary boundary science as one avenue for that evidence. 6 of the 9 processes that regulates the stability, the resilience, and the life support on Earth are outside of a safe space that keeps the planet in the equilibrium state that we depend on since we left the last ice age 12,000 years ago, climate being one of them. But the key message why Belém is so important is that we see that the Earth system is starting to lose resilience when we transgress the boundaries on biodiversity, on land system change, on fresh water, nitrogen overloading, phosphorus overloading, air pollutants, and chemicals, which actually leads to quite some straightforward but scientifically based but quite blunt statements. For example, even if we phase out fossil fuels and lose the Amazon rainforest, we still fail on 1.5. This is scientifically well established today. The Amazon basin is the Earth system's richest terrestrial ecosystem on land, but it's also what we call a tipping element. It is a biophysical system that regulates the stability of the entire climate system and the hydrological cycle on planet Earth. We have mapped 16 such systems, and the health check on the planet is also established through the evidence of avoiding that these systems cross their tipping points. We have 5 of them that are likely to cross the tipping points when we pass 1.5. The Greenland ice sheet, the West Antarctic ice sheet, all the tropical coral reef systems, abrupt thawing of permafrost, and collapse of the Labrador Sea current. You'll soon hear from my dear friend and colleague Carlos Nobre that we in the climate sciences probably get it wrong on the Amazon because we place that risk at roughly at 3 to 5 degrees Celsius, but because of the loss of deforestation, it might be at much lower temperatures. So all of this gives a diagnostic and a health check that we need to move very, very fast for a safe landing within a stable and planet that can support humanity. And therefore, COP30 is an opportunity for us to not only accelerate the mitigation pathway on the energy transition, but also take a full Earth system approach to the stewardship of the planet. And let me just close by saying how fantastic it therefore is that this agenda is high up here at the World Economic Forum. We have such support from the Frontiers Foundation and Kamila and Henry, who's also here, on mobilizing science to get this to become a global effort of providing the evidence of that diagnostic, not as a fear factor for humanity, but as evidence to accelerate the innovation pathway back into a prosperous and equitable future for humanity.
Thank you, Professor Högström. That's a good segue, speaking of tipping point, to talk about the precise role of the Amazon. We all know, we talk about it, and in light of the COP30, the Amazon will be in the spotlight, and the role of the Amazonian stability and health for climate. But on the other hand side, we also have the role of the changing climate for the even existence, the very existence of the Amazon, right? What you mentioned as the tipping point. So my follow-up question would be to Professor Nobre, as a scientist specialized in the Amazon and on Earth system science, what is your message to the World Economic Forum and the one that you also want to transmit further ahead in light of the COP30?
Thank you very much, Vanessa. Before I talk about the Amazon, let very briefly complement what Johan said. We climate scientists, we are so concerned the temperatures have reached 1.5 degrees for more than 12 months, 2023, 2024. Thousands of climate scientists are trying to explain why. And also, there is a tremendous risk that the temperature will not go lower than 1.5 within a few years. So if that happens, President Lula was very brilliant in the G20 discourse in Rio in November. He said, we have to get to net zero by 2040, not longer than 2045. So I think, COP30 will be very important. And also, Mr. Ambassador, let me tell you, we are doing a study we are going to release end of February in Brasilia to demonstrate Brazil can reach net zero by 2040. Land use change emissions, renewable energy transition, and also after 2040, Brazil can remove 1 billion tons of carbon dioxide per year, the largest scale forest restoration, all Brazilian biomes, not only in the Amazon. But, now talking about the Amazon, Johan mentioned, yes, global climate change, more than 3 degrees, increase in the droughts. We have had very strong 4 droughts, 2005, 2010, 2015, 16, and a record-breaking drought, 2024. However, we also show that because of deforestation, also it's a synergistic combination of global warming, climate change, and local land use change. Why? For instance, just to give you one figure, pastures. There is close to 1 million square kilometers deforested all over the Amazon, mostly, pastures for livestock farming. Pastures recycle 1/3, 1/4 of water, much less than the forest. The forest is 3 to 4 liters of water per square meter during the dry season. The pasture is 1.5. So that's the reason that the dry season is 4 to 5 weeks lengthier in 45 years all over southern Amazon. It's at the edge of the tipping point. So really, in the many studies, including our own studies, show if the temperature exceeds 1.5 to 2 degrees and the deforestation exceeds 20-25%, we are going to lose the Amazon. Minimum 50%, as Johan said, we are going to release within 30 to 50 years 200, 250 billion tons of carbon dioxide, making it impossible to maintain the temperature 1.5 degrees. So this is the risk. So then, just to finalize, I just want to say, also we want to create large-scale forest restoration. Forest restoration in the Amazon, Brazil launched the Arc of Restoration to restore 24 million hectares of the Brazilian Amazon, Brazilian Development Bank. We are really counting on the support of all financial, private sectors all over the world to support and also to preserve, to save the biodiversity, to reduce the risks of pandemics. A lot of epidemics already taking place in the Amazon now. So that's really our big challenge. I want just to say we have to get nature-based solutions, zero deforestation, degradation, fires, but also a large-scale forest restoration immediately. We have to start immediately. And then, as I said, Brazil reaching net zero emissions by 2040, large-scale, 1 million square kilometers in the Brazil, all biomes restoration. We are going to remove more than 1 billion tons of carbon dioxide per year. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor. Well, we have a lot of data. We have a lot of scientists. We need to get the science to communicate with the politicians that take action, the business people that take action on climate, and we need to do it fast. And it's an emergency, as you're saying. So I wanted to ask Kamila Markram, you are determined to move this message around through open science. So what is the importance, thank you, Professor. What is the importance of open science, and why is it important to bring this agenda to the WEF and to COP30?
Yeah, so I'll zoom out a little bit out of the Amazon and into how we can actually accelerate the solutions for planetary health in general. So the problem that we're facing today is that most of the science is published behind paywalls, quite prohibitive paywalls. And the reality is then that there is not a single university in the world that has access to all of the knowledge. You who are funding this science through taxes do not have access if you fall sick with something and want to find out about the treatment. In fact, your doctors can't access the latest research on treatments. Companies as well have very restricted access to the latest science. And all of that while we're living in a knowledge economy where every single thing, the pen with which you're writing right now, Vanessa, every single thing is heavily science infused. So what we need to do is to give people, scientists, innovators, companies, literally everybody, as well as machines nowadays, we're talking about AI, we need to give them free and unrestricted access to the science, to the research articles, and to the data. Because that does accelerate collaboration, innovation for both the planetary crisis, but as well the public health crisis. So COVID, in fact, is an amazing example of demonstrating the power of making our science open. So I'll just spend 1 minute on that. When COVID hit 4 years ago, a lot of things happened. Of course, we all got into action, but ultimately everybody turned to scientists because these are the only people who can deliver vaccines and treatments. And we were fighting for lives and trillions of dollars in economic losses. So it became blatantly clear that if we want them to solve this crisis quickly, we had to give them access to all of the coronavirus research. So in an entirely unprecedented move, never happened before, the science was sitting behind subscription paywalls. The White House and a couple of others put together a database where all of the coronavirus research articles were inserted and mandated that people needed, and machines as well, needed to have free, unrestricted, open access to all of the science. That's the unsung story of COVID, because then what happened is that we got vaccines and treatments at a speed and a timescale never ever seen before in history. It was amazing. 1 year to get to the vaccines. Now, what has been achieved for COVID has not been achieved at all for the climate crisis and planetary health. Climate research is behind paywalls to a large extent, but as well all the basic sciences that give us solar energy, wind, hydro, nuclear, etc., chemistry, material science, physics, biology, all of this is behind paywalls to a large, large extent. So if we had all the time in the world to come up with the innovations and the solutions for the planetary crisis, for climate change, no problem. There's lots of innovations, lots of innovation is actually happening, but we're on a very short time scale here. It's a ticking time bomb, right? 5 years to halve the carbon emissions, 25 years to get to net zero carbon emissions. So we have absolutely no time to lose. And what we really need to do is to open up our science. Funders recognize this. There's more and more open access mandates. That's the reason why we started Frontiers. It's successful, it's great, but it really is not enough. So what we need to do is to get the governments to realize that they have to put this as an official mandate to combat climate change. So we launched an open letter to ask for open science, that publicly funded science is made openly accessible. We launched it at the COP in Dubai 2 years ago. Thousands of people have subscribed to it. And we are going to bring this now to COP30 as well, to make this part of the official agenda for governments to mandate open access to publicly funded research. Really, it shouldn't be such a big deal. It's not very political. It's very cost effective. So that's what's going to happen. That's our agenda for COP30.
Great. Well, I do have a follow-up question. You also, I know that you've created another measure to accelerate this transformation. And speaking of using science to promote societal change, you've created this Frontiers Planet Prize. Can you share with us the rationale behind the prize, and also who can participate? Can others join?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. So, why did we create the Planet Prize? It was actually because of Johan. We read his book on the planetary boundaries on a Christmas break. And to my knowledge, it's the most comprehensive framework that exists, bringing together the boundaries, the tipping points, and the 9 life support systems. Very concrete measures. But above all, it brings together as well the consensus within the scientific communities, what these quantifiable thresholds actually are. And with the Planet Prize, we want to accelerate, to speed up the consensus within the scientific community on what needs to be done. Because the faster we reach this type of consensus, the faster governments can then legislate, and the faster businesses then gain as well trust and confidence to invest in these types of innovations. So with the Planet Prize, so historically, it's taking very long to reach consensus, and you're probably all aware of that. 1.5 degrees Celsius was about 30 years to reach the consensus, but once it was agreed on in the Paris Agreement, everybody started mobilizing behind the 1.5 degrees climate threshold. With the Planet Prize, we want to shrink this consensus timeline from 10 to 30 years to 1 to 2 years. And with that, really kick over those innovations that come out of labs. And there's so many of them. There's 10 million researchers out there. So we have a huge workforce, and they actually do have quite a lot of funding. So there's a lot of innovations coming out. But there's so many. Which one is the one that we should all be focusing on? So that's the goal that we want to achieve. Kick it over out of the lab to policymakers and to businesses on a much faster timescale. Their process that we have created is a very rigorous one that involves a lot of players or the key players in the scientific ecosystem. Universities, in a first step, nominate the latest research studies on planetary health, climate, but as well biodiversity in the Amazonas. And we will hear from Carlos Perez in a couple of minutes about his solutions and innovations for the Amazonas. They nominate the best innovations from their universities. This goes to the national science academies. They choose amongst at the national level. So we do want to stimulate the spirit of mobilization, but as well competition, Olympic-style competition. Well, who's the best scientist at this university in this country? And then Johan put together an amazing jury of 100 of the top-notch climate researchers and sustainability researchers alive today on the planet. And they select amongst these national nominees the 3 international winners, and they each take home a $1 million prize to further their research, but as well to create these connections with governments and potentially with business investors. So it's starting to work. We welcome more people to join in, because 3 million that we bring together is just, we're very well aware of this, just a drop on a hot stone. The more people can join, the better it is. What we do have is a very rigorous mechanism on how to reach this consensus of what the best innovations are today on the planet.
Well, thank you for the creation of this prize. If I understand right, the winner that we will be hearing from in a little bit works in the Amazon as well.
Yes.
So maybe to go full circle, let's go back to the Amazon. One of the concepts that is being promoted nowadays to work within the limits of our planetary boundaries and also at the same time promote social inclusion and a green transition is the concept of the bioeconomy. Swissnex has a program on the bioeconomy as well, but there is some divergence within the scientific community, business and politics, of what the bioeconomy actually consists of. And I know your work is very specific and rigorous about what is bioeconomy. What should be the bioeconomy of the Amazon? Could you share with us a little bit more about that?
Yes. In a few years ago, when we were talking about bioeconomy in Brazil, then the agribusiness in Brazil said what they do, cattle ranches are bioeconomy. Yeah, you cannot say that cattle is not biological. However, when we meant bioeconomy for the Amazon, we create now the bioeconomy of the social biodiversity, or a lengthier name, social bioeconomy of standing forests and flowing rivers. The idea is really to, initially, let's recognize the knowledge of indigenous people. Humans arrived in the Amazon 15,000 years ago. 11,000 years ago, they were all over the Amazon. They developed the indigenous science, mostly, in case you don't know, indigenous women. They were the scientists. They domesticated more than 50 plants, like cocoa, acai berry, Brazil nuts, etc. Also, for instance, cocoa. They created 1,300 varieties of the cocoa species. So this, and also they use more than 2,300 products of the Amazon biodiversity, more than 300 fruits, 1,500 medicinal plants. Always they maintain the forest. They never starved. So we have to learn. I mean, why don't we value that? Why don't we have to get rid of the Amazon? So that's what we are talking about, the bioeconomy of the social biodiversity, is really to bring a great potential of all these hundreds and hundreds of products from the biodiversity to benefit the world, not only the Amazonian people. So I was seeing this document here, the technological tipping points, I would say the positive tipping points. Also, you're talking about positive tipping points. So the idea is to really create this new social bioeconomy, to give scale. There's a very small scale, but improves the livelihoods of a lot of people also in the Amazon. Those, some cooperatives in the Amazon, they produce more than 50 products from the biodiversity. And all those people in the cooperative, they reach the middle class. So it shows the potential. So that's the concept, this positive technological tipping points to create this new social bioeconomy. And of course, we have challenges. And then I just want to finalize saying one initiative that we are developing also, the scientific community, Amazonian, Brazilian, other Amazonian countries, but also partnerships with many institutions outside in the US and Europe. We are trying to develop the so-called Amazonia Institute of Technology, AMIT. So it's the quality of a very high-level Institute of Technology for development of this new social bioeconomy. 5 themes. We released the feasibility study now in November in Manaus, the Amazon. So this is the social bioeconomy, Amazon waters, the largest fluvial system in the world, sustainable infrastructure. Yeah, I can have transportation, sustainable, fluvial. 95% of deforestation in the Amazon is within 5.5 kilometers along the roads. There is 1.5 million kilometers of illegal roads in the Brazilian Amazon. So sustainable infrastructure, all sustainable infrastructure. Energy as well, tremendous potential of renewable energy, solar, and many other, wind, and many other renewable energy, green hydrogen. And also outer landscapes, how to restore, as I said, restoration projects. We have 2 million square kilometers deforested and degraded, and also urban Amazon. So that's the concept. So let me tell you, we are now developing 2 big challenges. One is designing 5 innovation hubs. We want in the Amazon Institute of Technology to have a minimum of 5 innovation hubs, not only in Brazil, at least Brazil, Colombia, Peru, Bolivia, Ecuador. And also during COP30, we are going to release, in partnership with Ernst Young, the first innovation hub in Belém. All of you who have been are going to be there. You're going to see, we call Nature Hub. It's a proposal I made to Ernst Young, and they are financing construction of this innovation hub in Belém. And then also other 5 innovation hubs. And also another big challenge, we are also doing how to bring to the Amazon Institute of Technology the knowledge of indigenous people and local communities. So now we are developing a study with 12 indigenous, Afro-descendants, riverine communities, how to bring their knowledge to this institute. So let me tell you, we are looking for partnerships globally with the financial sector, but also with universities, technological institutes, to create a high-quality institute to make, undergraduate, thousands of undergraduate, graduate students per year for this new social bioeconomy of standing forests. So we hope our initial estimates for $100 million to start with this Amazon Institute of Technology. So I think that's also very, very important, because we are going to create the economic model to protect and save the Amazon.
Thank you. We just heard of very 2 actionable initiatives taking place, connected not only to the climate emergency, but also to specifically the Amazonian biome. We have 5 minutes. If anyone has a burning question, I can pass the mic. At the end of the second panel. So you all have to stay for the second panel, just letting you know that. Okay, so I think we can transition now. Thank you very much to both of you, and also Professor Hekstrom, who had to leave us early.
Thank you, Vanessa.
You're going to stay for the follow-up network event, right? Okay, so you have a chance to ask them questions directly. Thank you, everyone, very much. Thank you, ambassadors. Thank you, Benjamin.